Hey everyone, welcome back to Weekly Roundup. I'm your host, Kal.
And I'm Ghost.
We've got a wild one this week. From Nintendo's pricing drama and fresh Switch 2 details, to Bungie finally lifting the veil on Marathon, and Path of Exile 2 trying to dig itself out of a hole. It's been a week of reveals, delays, and some real industry shakeups. So let's dive right in. Things keep getting messier for Nintendo, and honestly the entire Japanese gaming industry, thanks to a fresh round of tariffs from the US government. So nice to be an American. Always. Ghost, are you proud to be an American at this point in time?
Sometimes yes, and then other times no. No. Sometimes it's just embarrassing because it's crazy out there.
It's been a lot of embarrassing lately, honestly.
You know what it feels like? Not to interject there. It feels a lot like some of them Tesla owners, right? Where they're like,
Right.
"Hey, I bought my Tesla in 2015. Okay, relax. I didn't buy one of the new ones." That's how I feel sometimes.
Gotta constantly give a disclaimer. That's where we're
Crazy.
at. President Trump's administration just dropped a 24% import tariff on countries that they're calling the worst offenders in trade. And yep, Japan is on that list. This means companies like Nintendo, Sony, Capcom, and Sega all took a hit on the stock market. We're talking 7 to 10% drops in a single day. And it's not just Wall Street drama. This is already messing with Switch 2 pre-orders in the US, which just got delayed because of tariff-related uncertainty. The base Switch 2 is priced at $449.99, and the Mario Kart bundle is going for $500. And now there's growing concern that those prices could climb even higher if Nintendo starts passing the costs on to consumers. I'm not buying a Nintendo.
They're going to. They're definitely going to pass the price hike on to the consumer. 100%.
They definitely are, and I don't think the outrage is enough for Nintendo to care. I think they're going to see what happens when they launch, and judging by how many people still buy, this is where they're going to be from now on. Right, especially pricing games is high, because I don't think their consumer base has, like I've been saying, any impulse control. But speaking of the Switch 2, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're good.
What were you going to say?
No, it's just normal kind of economics. If once you get the masses or someone to pay, let's say from $10 to $15, why are you going back to $10? It doesn't make logical sense. Right, exactly. So once they set that precedent, that's all it's going to be, and it's going to go up from there.
Exactly. Speaking of the Switch 2, let's break down what Bill Trinen had to say in that big interview with IGN. First up, the console itself. Trinen called the Switch 2 the true successor to the original Switch. It's got upgraded tech, but what really stood out was game chat. It's Nintendo's take on voice and video chat. Finally. As you know, the previous model required you to download a separate app to talk to friends. It uses the built-in mic and camera, works docked or portable, and aims to recreate the same room feeling. Yeah, very Nintendo. Honestly, I don't understand how that previous model went so long without having voice. I feel like that's the standard. I feel like that's something that should already be built in from the get-go. Why is that something notable on your next generation?
What?
Am I crazy?
Maybe if it's just a matter... No, because you know what, though? I think it would also be, is that really what the consumer wants? Yeah. Because maybe it was older technology for them, and to throw that in there, maybe it would cause a price hike to justify them putting it onto the console. So maybe it's just something that now they're looking at and say, well, now we can do it. That's been enough ask.
That's true. Because I can't really think of a lot of multiplayer games that Nintendo has that would warrant having that, but I could be wrong because I don't even have the console at all. A lot of Nintendo's games are mostly, couch games, having a bunch of people around. That's the type of environment you usually have when people say fire up Nintendo.
Right.
Now onto the game, starting with Mario Kart World. It's not just new tracks. This time it's one big interconnected world you actually drive across. And the Kal character, totally unintentional fan favorite. Trinen even said Nintendo didn't expect the hype, but yeah, everyone's playing as the Kal. You still do standard races, but there's a new knockout tour mode that links everything together. More details are coming in a future Nintendo Direct. And yes, the price is $80, which raised a few eyebrows. But Nintendo's stance is that it's worth it because of how massive the game is. If you get it in the Switch 2 bundle, it drops to $50, but that's only for a limited time. We've already expressed our concerns about this price. I don't really feel like it's just beating a dead horse at this point. We'll just have to see when it hits the market, what the reaction is. Continuing on, then we've got Donkey Kong Bonanza, which Trennan called jokingly the most groundbreaking game in video game history. It leans into DK's strength and silliness, using destruction to uncover secrets in the environment. No dev has been named yet, but sound like it's internal. Another interesting piece was the Welcome Tour. It's a $10 digital app meant to show off Switch 2's tech, like HDR and mouse controls. Some people thought it'd be a free pack-in, but Nintendo says it's robust enough to stand on its own. Have you seen this thing? Bro, it's like when you sign up. I don't know if you remember back in the day of PlayStation 4, when you first signed up, like, you know Astro World? And like the little, yeah, you know how they used Astro World to like show you the internals of like the PlayStation? This is the same thing. It's basically just a running commercial, but they're saying it's $10 instead of just being free. Like that could have been something that you could have tacked into the Nintendo Switch already, and it just shows up like working you through the internals of the Switch. But no, Nintendo felt the need to tack a $10 price tag onto it.
Yeah, of course they did.
They continue to do things that are just so anti-consumer. I just do not get it. But speaking of mouse controls, Joy-Con 2 has them, and Trennan was hyped, especially for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. You can play split Joy-Con, then drop down to mouse for combat. Dual Joy-Con means dual mouse support, which opens up some crazy potential. Even 2-player mouse play out of the box. Yeah, I've seen gameplay of this where it's seamless. Like, you can use the Joy-Con immediately when you pick it up off the desk, and it automatically tracks your aiming there. Or you can just put it right back down on the desk and use it as a mouse and keyboard. All seamless. Don't even have to go into settings to change. It's really kind of crazy to see. Now about pricing in general. Trennan says it's all about value. Some games are $70, some $80, depending on content. For example, Breath of the Wild Switch 2 edition is $70, but doesn't include the DLC. That's an extra $20.
Ew.
It goes
Ew. Okay. Ew.
$90 for a game from 2017.
You know what though? But here's the thing. In fairness, isn't that what PlayStation's doing with Forza Horizon 5? It's $99.
That's Xbox doing that.
I know what I'm saying. That's still an old game coming to a new console. That's ridiculous.
Here is something that more mirrors this. This is like PlayStation when they have a game that's on the PlayStation 4. If you want the PlayStation 5 upgrade, it's only $10. Nintendo is instead that's fine to me. Nintendo is instead saying that game came out on the other console. You're gonna pay full price for this game. Also, the DLC does not come with it. You will also be paying $20 for that DLC instead of, PlayStation would just lump all that stuff together.
Well,
this is even worse than
sucks because some of those games for like, let's say PS4, right? They don't classify it as a new game. It's $10 and they just update it to PS5 standards.
Right.
So you don't lose any of your progress in games. Can you imagine losing out progress on a game because you have to rebuy it that? Nah, I'd be tight.
It better
That's
be.
like, honestly, that, and this is just an example, like when GTA, when you got to port it over from PS4, can you imagine losing $400 million in that game?
No, I cannot. No, I promise you,
I would still be playing on the
game.
PS4. I'm letting you right now. I'd still have the PS4 just to play the game. That's crazy.
There's just no way I'm doing that. Tears of the Kingdom is $80 total, which includes a $10 upgrade path. But if you are a Switch Online Plus expansion pack member, you get those upgrade packs for free. Good for you, I guess. And finally, Kirby Air Riders. Yes, Sakurai's back. He's directing it himself, which is huge because he hasn't led a Kirby game in decades. No new info has come anytime soon, but Trennan said he's excited to bring Air Ride to a bigger audience. And no, Bill Trennan hasn't tasted the new cartridges yet. He says he's still hoping for pistachio. I don't know if you know, Ghost, but apparently...
What?
Apparently...
The hell did I just hear?
Apparently, Nintendo has coded these cartridges with like a bittering agent. It's just to deter children from like trying to eat it. but it became a meme because people started like putting their tongue to it and tasting it. Yeah. And so that's what so people ask you, have you tried the new cartridges yet? That's what they're referring to.
The same people eat Tide Pods.
Right. They were eating them so much they had to lock the Tide Pods up. I got to get an associate to wash my clothes.
That's just stupid. Damn bath salts. Next.
Let's stick with Nintendo and talk about that the GameCube controller situation. Nintendo's bringing back the GameCube controller for the Switch 2, and on paper, that might sound exciting for everybody. But Nintendo can't help but be Nintendo, and the fine print has raised some eyebrows. According to the UK version of the promo trailer, this new GameCube controller is only compatible with Nintendo GameCube Nintendo Classics, which seems to mean you'll only be able to use it with GameCube games on the Switch 2 online service, not for other Switch 2 games. Not even Smash as far as we can tell, at least officially. Okay, so you bring back an iconic controller, but the controller can only be used for a specific part on the Nintendo Switch instead of allowing your customers to use it entirely with your console. I'm not. That's just so insanely stupid to me.
I'm staying out of that.
Now, this could just be Nintendo covering themselves legally. They've slapped similar warnings on past retro gear, and people still found ways to make it work with other titles. Plus, that disclaimer doesn't even show up in the US trailer. And here's a bit of good news. If you already have the old GameCube adapter from the Wii U days, it'll still work with the Switch 2 dock via USB. So at least there's some flexibility baked in. We're also getting a solid lineup of GameCube classics at launch: Wind Waker, F-Zero GX, Soul Calibur 2, with more like Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion, and Fire Emblem on the way. Ghost, have you played any of these? Do any of these ring a bell?
Some do. Not all. Some do.
Soul Calibur 2 I was a big fan of back in the day, but I played that on Dreamcast. I played the original on Dreamcast.
But then again, I mean, Soul Calibur was, I think, a classic. At some point, a gamer had to have played that.
Right. The controller drops with the Switch 2, but pre-orders are still in limbo, mostly thanks to these lovely US tariffs throwing a wrench in the supply chain. But let's zoom out from Nintendo and check the broader genre trends, starting with Battle Royales. Here's a stat that might not surprise you. Battle Royales are on the decline. According to Newzoo's 2025 PC and console gaming report, playtime for the genre has dropped from 19% in 2021 to just 12% in 2024. But here's the twist. Fortnite is somehow dominating in spite of all this. While the genre shrinks, Fortnite's share of the Battle Royale pie has jumped from 43% to a wild 77%. So even though fewer people are playing Battle Royales overall, almost everyone who is playing Fortnite. Playing that. That's some serious staying. I think they are like, that's like
they'll stay around.
Yeah, they'll stay around for years. That's like the level of Rockstar when it comes to like open world playgrounds. That is for Battle Royale, like the excitement and all the draw for like that type of like gameplay is for them. Like, I don't think any other developer will get close to the amount of staying power that Fortnite has. And I think
the only other thing that's kind of like that is GTA, or even like Call of Duty.
Right.
Even though Call of Duty does try that open world battle royale side, it is a rabid like fan base. I guess even like Elden Ring's like that too, but there are very few games in the industry that are, no matter what goes on, they will sell units. Absolutely. And sell a lot of them.
Right. I think they just have like a really strong, especially because when you cater to children, you're going to be around for a while. And like, I don't know any kid that has not played Fortnite at this point. Even some full-grown adults are still playing it. Meanwhile, shooters as a whole are growing, and RPGs are making big moves too. Up to 13% of total playtime, with heavy hitters like Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, and Starfield leading the charge. Starfield!
Gross.
Oh my god. Anyway, next up, let's talk about Bungie, because Marathon is finally stepping out of the shadows. Bungie is finally showing us what this thing actually looks like in motion after months of silence and weird teaser drops. It's a bold shift from what longtime fans might have expected. So here's the setup. You're playing as a cybernetic merc called a runner, exploring the abandoned colony world of Tau Ceti 4. I think that's how you pronounce that. It's a PvPvE extraction shooter. You drop in, hunt for loot, avoid or engage other players, and try to make it out alive. Fail to extract, you lose everything. No checkpoint, no mercy, high risk, high reward. Visually, the trailer's kind of slick. It's neon heavy, saturated in sci-fi style. And honestly, I love the art style. I think it looks great. It's very different from Destiny, and even more removed from the original Marathon games. Bungie's leaning hard into a new direction. I sent you the trailer, so you've checked it out yourself. What did you?
Yeah, I mean, the art style is nice. I think the genre of the game is not something I will cater to, just because there I don't know, there's other games I think I would like to play more. But I'm not saying it's not going to be a good game, just not something I'm probably going to dump a bunch of hours into. I wouldn't mind trying it, but I don't know. When I see stuff like that, it almost makes me just want to go play the finals, honestly.
Right.
I don't want to be that guy, but I'd rather just go play that.
My thing is, it's kind of weird for Bungie to move in this direction when they built up like this player base on Destiny, and this player base is primarily focused on PvE content. So it's kind of weird for them to shift to like this PvPvE type gameplay. I mean, to be honest, I think Bungie sets the standard for like gunplay. I think they have some of the best gunplay in the competition, but I just think it's a weird pivot for them. And on top of that, Marathon, well, I'll get into that later. But yeah, Marathon will feature full crossplay and cross save between PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. The launch date's already confirmed for September 23rd, 2025, so we got about 6 months before we check that out. But now the community split. Some folks are hyped Bungie is trying something different, tapping into that Tarkov-style gameplay loop. Others are disappointed there is no single-player campaign, especially since the original Marathon was known for its deep lore and solo narrative. Personally, I am curious if Bungie sticks to landing with movement, gun feel, and the classic Bungie polish. Marathon can seriously shake up the genre, but if it ends up being Destiny with extraction mechanics, well, we've seen what happens when studios chase trends. It's Concord. So, yeah. Let me know in the comments if you've been like a major Destiny fan and you've been playing Destiny for like the better part of a decade. I think that game's been out for that long.
Sure has.
Let me know in the comments, are you down for this new direction, or were you hoping for something closer to classic Marathon? And also, were you hoping for something more in the vein of Destiny itself? Just let me know in the comments below. We're going to pivot to something a little bit more serious and kind of alarming. The non-profit Women in Games is calling on Valve to immediately remove a disturbing adult visual novel from Steam, a game that openly promotes incest, sexual assault, and violent domination. We're not going to name the game here, and honestly, that's part of the point. It's been described as vile and dangerous, with language like "become every woman's worst nightmare" and "never take no for an answer." Let's be honest. That's problematic.
Yeah, that needs to come down. That sounds like that needs to come down, honestly. And how that even got pushed through is not great.
Insane to me. Dr. Marie Claire Eisman, I think that's her name, CEO of Women in Games, is demanding Valve step up and enforce a zero tolerance policy against misogyny and hate. And she was right. This is a test of Steam's moderation standards and where they draw the line. I don't understand. Like, all this repressed anger like that men have towards women, and they do all of this. They pushing all their anger, like you can't, all because you can't get a woman, you can't have sex, and this is what you do instead of looking inward and trying to figure out the problem within yourself, because the problem is always you. It's always like, start there. Once you start blaming other once you start blaming other people for your problems, you've lost the thread, and that's when the spiral starts. But yeah, I just thought that was pretty
accountability.
Foul. Yeah, no accountability whatsoever
on anything.
But back to industry updates. Xbox just made their summer showcase official, and it's all going down on Sunday, June 8th. We've got a full lineup of first-party reveals, third-party surprises, and right after the main show, a dedicated Outer Worlds 2 Direct. Now, Xbox says we'll be seeing updates on Fable, which heads up has been pushed to 2026, along with Gears of War E-Day, which I'm excited about, Clockwork Revolution, Perfect Dark, another one I'm excited about, State of Decay 3, Everwild, and Marvel's Blade, another one I am highly excited about. That's a stacked list, even if a few of those are still way out. If you're a fan of sci-fi RPGs, Outer Worlds 2 is getting its moment right after the showcase. Obsidian's promising new gameplay, deeper details, and apparently a world almost certainly 2 times bigger than the original. We'll see if that holds up. This all lands right in the middle of Summer Game Fest, so we've got a packed week of reveals coming. Sony's got their own thing brewing too. Let's talk PlayStation 5 customization. Ghost, do you like to customize things? Because no. I do.
No, I hate it. I want to be just like everyone else.
That's disgusting.
Meanwhile, I had my PS5 changed to all black within 2 weeks of having it.
Not to mention, like the car, like you're definitely a part of the car culture.
Yeah, I'm definitely a problem when it comes to customization of anything.
Sony's finally giving PlayStation 5 users a little more visual flair. A new batch of animated backgrounds has started rolling out, and this time it's more than just Astrobot. We're talking fresh themes from Ghost of Yotei, Demon's Souls, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon, Ratchet & Clank, and a few others. But there's a catch, obviously. Right now, they're only available to select users, with no word on when they'll be fully available for everyone. These show up in the PlayStation 5's Welcome Hub, which lets you tweak things like message widgets, notifications, and battery indicators when you boot up the console. It's a small but welcome step forward in a system that felt kinda locked down since launch. Yes, because I really do miss my PlayStation 4 themes. Because once I found one, I did not take it off. But as for the classic PlayStation themes, the PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 4 stuff that dropped during the 30th anniversary event, we still have no word on when these are coming back, but Sony says they're working on it. But alright.
Sure they are.
Time to address the mess that's happening in Path of Exile 2. Grinding Gear Games dropped a major update called Dawn of the Hunt. It was supposed to be a huge moment, new class, 5 ascensions, expanded crafting, 100 plus uniques. The hype was real. But instead of celebration, the community lit up with complaints.
It's not that bad. It's really not that bad of what's going on over there.
Steam reviews down to mostly negative. Why? Because the game got slowed down big time. Boss fights drag on forever, skills feel weak, movement is sluggish, and worst of all, loot's been nerfed hard. Players say it's turned into a slog. Kill a rare and get nothing. The forced combo gameplay is back, which killed the build freedom a lot of folks love, and GGG didn't really address any of this until the Backlash hit max volume. Now, to their credit,
they've pushed out 6 updates. The game had an update on the 4th. They've literally have pushed through, I kid you not, 6 or 7 patches.
Yeah.
And I get it, and this is maybe something I can talk about because I've pumped a lot of hours into this game. The first part of learning the game when it first came out in December, the game felt like a slog at that point, right? Because it's brand new, at least for me. And then when I got my 4th character in through a playthrough, sure, it felt powerful because I knew exactly what I needed to do, what gems, this, that, and the other. There are portions of the new campaign that do feel slow. And I've been playing and I'm just turning the corner into Cruel. So yeah, I get it. But at the same time, the company is actually pushing through patches. There are 2 or 3 maps on the back end of Cruel that are smaller. They've actually said, okay, that's for actual release of the game. Right. I don't know, man. It's just, I find it interesting that we're over here trying to act and don't get me wrong, I agree with a lot of what they say. I'm not sitting here, saying it's not valid, but we're also acting like this is a fully released game. The shit's still in early access.
And also, we got to give credit to devs who immediately see a problem and immediately patch it. We have to understand, we have to give credit to that, because other developers we've seen, they take months on months. They're dragging feet to fix something.
Well, and here's also the thing that I'll give them credit for. They had their campfire or whatever the hell they call it, the devs where they come out. And the head of the game, and I can't think of his name right now, but he came out and he said, break the game. Like find the builds that are broken. And
Right.
I like the fact that when the game first came out, they nerfed a lot of those, but then they just let you go freaking crazy. Like my monk, I'd say I just want to see how strong this thing is. Like I went back to the campaign just to screw around. I'm one tapping campaign bosses, and then you get into like I'm right around running level 14 and 15 maps. I mean I'm blowing through map bosses in like 10 seconds. Like boom, boom, boom. If I feel like dropping a bell, great. I mean I'm hitting for hundreds of thousands of damage. It's ridiculous. So the fact that there's a game that not to point fingers at Diablo or anything like that or other game devs where they say no, you broke the game, we're going to take that away, you don't get to do that. They're like,
Right.
Okay, try
Right.
and break the shit and see what happens. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, because then you can start to kind of like what Helldivers do. They end up buffing a lot of stuff. Like they want you to feel powerful, but they also buff the enemies as well. Just to give them something extra. Like I love that. But yeah, like Ghost was saying, they did drop an emergency patch on April 11th. Doing stuff like monster speed and density is toned down across acts 1 through 3. Some bosses got nerfed and made more readable. Minion revive timers got reworked to feel less punishing. And they're teasing more changes too. Charms overhauls, dash tab affinities, and Atlas bookmarks. Solid quality of life stuff, but the big question is, will this be enough for the community? GGG's got a loyal fan base, but even longtime PoE 1 veterans are saying, I love this dev, but I can't really recommend PoE 2 right now. So yeah, we'll see if this patch turns the tide. If not, PoE 2 might be staring down a real identity crisis. But PoE 2 isn't the only place where fans feel burned. Over at Ubisoft, players are learning the hard way what you don't own your games really means.
Facts.
Ubisoft is facing a class action case from players who say the company basically pulled a bait and switch. The game went offline in 2024 when servers shut down, and since the crew was online only, that made it completely unplayable, even if you paid for it. Ubisoft's response? You never actually owned the game in the first place. According to their legal team, buying the crew is really just buying a limited use license, not a permanent product.
And that's stupid. The fact that I'm buying something and I can't use it forever, like, no, I can't do that. That's ugly. Nope, stupid.
Ghost has got to slide up out of here, but I will continue this roundup. Ghost,
I appreciate y'all. Y'all are fantastic, and I will catch y'all later.
All right, see you, buddy. But yeah, going back to Ubisoft, Ubisoft said you never actually own the game. According to their legal team, buying the crew is really just buying a limited use license, not a permanent product. They're asking the court to dismiss the case entirely, saying it was all clearly stated on the box. But the plaintiffs are pushing back hard. They've updated their complaint with 9 claims now, including everything from false advertising to violating California's gift card laws, arguing the in-game currency functioned like a gift certificate, which by law can't expire. This whole case could set a major precedent around what it actually means to own a digital game in 2025. And finally, let's wrap things up with a proper farewell to an RPG legend. Larian Studios is finally ready to say goodbye to Baldur's Gate 3 with one last update. Patch 8 going live next Tuesday, April 15th. This update's a big one. It's not just bug fixes. Every main class is getting a brand new subclass. Full crossplay is finally coming to all platforms, and yes, we're getting a proper photo mode. Larian ran a few community stress tests over the past few weeks, and aside from that moment where the patch went live, way too early on PlayStation 5, everything looks solid for launch. To mark the occasion, Larian's throwing a live stream hosted by Alfie Wilson alongside senior systems designer Ross Stevens. Expect a full deep dive into what Patch 8 has to offer, probably with a few surprises baked in. Now, in case you're wondering, no, Larian isn't making Baldur's Gate 4. This really is the end of the line for them on this franchise. But Hasbro is already looking for a new studio to pick up the next chapter, so the story might continue somewhere down the road. For Larian, though, this wraps up a journey that started all the way back in 2020 when the game first dropped in early access. Since then, Baldur's Gate 3 has become one of the most influential RPGs in recent years. So yeah, Patch 8 isn't just an update, it's a send-off. And honestly, even though I'm not the biggest fan of turn-based games, I can appreciate when a game is shown as much love as this one. I cannot wait to see what else they make in the future. And that's a wrap for today, guys. Just make sure you stay on top of all these updates. I'm Kal, and we'll be back with more next week. Same time, same feed. We'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.